Hello, Seicharap. Would you be able to identify the main skill that differentiates students who are above average? The main skill of a great learner is not spending hours studying. It is not knowing a secret learning technique. It is not eating superfoods or taking supplements that promise to increase the capacity of your brain. What really differentiates great students from the rest of students is their retention capacity. It is the ability of keeping in your memory everything you have studied and being able to recover that information when you're taking a test or speaking in public or having to apply it at work. Now, think about it. The more you're able to retain information, the less time you will need to spend studying. This is called efficiency. And that is what we're going to be learning right now. Studying for a long time is useless if you can't retain what you have studied. There's no use to trying to fill a leaky bucket. Learning something new is useless if you can't retain that knowledge. You know that. The worst thing is to study and start forgetting things, isn't it? Forgetting things is horrible, and because of the discomfort created by forgetfulness, the supplement industry is billing great amounts of money by selling promises like the fish oil to enhance memory. You can even call it omega-3 supplement or DHA or even memory pill. But the truth is that you won't be able to increase your brain's power by taking a memory pill or trying any other pseudoscientific hack. To improve the ability of retaining information, you just need to follow some strategies so that knowledge doesn't leak out of your brain like from a leaky bucket. The first step is to understand why you are forgetting the things you have studied. This phenomenon is known as the forgetting curve, and it was studied for the first time in 1885 by Hermann Ebbinghaus. The forgetting curve shows that we all have the tendency to quickly forget the things we learn. There is an exponential drop in our knowledge, especially at the beginning, and after that, this loss of knowledge decreases with time. Ebbinghaus was even able to formulate mathematical equations to estimate how much time we needed to receive material before forgetting what we learned. But the thesis wasn't fully proven. That is why there are three great theories now that try to explain this forgetting curve: the theory of decay, the theory of interference, and the theory of forgotten cues. Three theories try to explain why we forget the things we study: the theory of decay, the theory of interference, and the theory of forgotten cues. The theory of decay is controversial. After all, we are able to remember past events, like our childhood, and we can also remember recent events, for example, what we had for lunch yesterday. So time cannot be identified as the only factor for forgetting. The interference theory claims that new knowledge ends up taking the space of older knowledge. It is as if our memory were a computer with a limited capacity. We need to delete all the information in order to learn, to let new information in. And this way, something that you recently learned will interfere with the older information. This analogy of the brain as a computer is not well liked within the scientific community. Our mind is way more complex than a system that is filled up or emptied like the memory of a computer. And finally, the theory of forgotten clues says that our brain is like a series of locked drawers, and we don't have the key to all these drawers. According to this theory, we don't forget what we learn. The knowledge is somewhere inside our brain, and we're just not able to access that knowledge whenever we want. These three theories seem to agree on something that our brain forgets by default. That is why you need to have an active strategy to try to retain what you study. Use the spaced repetition system to avoid forgetting what you study. There are softwares that calculate exactly what and when you should study. One of the most efficient strategies to increase your ability to retain information is the spaced repetition system. According to this system, you have to revise the subject that you are studying from time to time so that your brain can never forget what you studied. There are softwares that calculate exactly what and when you should revise every single subject that you are studying. And the most common and well-known software of these is Anki. which is free, can be used by anyone. I just want to give you a warning so that you understand that it is necessary to have a complete learning system. The reason for me to not be insisting only about the spaced repetition system in our How to Learn Faster course is that it is only one of many tools. The spaced repetition system is really useful to learn facts and vocabulary and definitions. But it doesn't work well in more complex areas of knowledge that require associations and practical training. For these areas of knowledge, you need to practice in other ways, creating procedures and deliberate practice and specific routines. Transform the things you learned into specific procedures. Procedural knowledge is much more difficult to forget. Transforming what you're learning into specific procedures is a good strategy for trying to retain more advanced information that doesn't fit into the spaced repetition system. There is scientific evidence that more procedural skills that consist of procedures of sequential actions, like typing on a computer or riding a bike, they are retained in the brain a different way than skills that are related to more factual knowledge. The proof for this is that you still know how to type or how to ride a bike, even when it's been a long time since you last did it. Therefore, if you're able to transform what you study into specific practical procedures, the chances of retaining that knowledge over time will increase. For example, let's say that you are learning how to code. Instead of just reading about it and doing some exercises, try to transform that learning process into a procedure. Make a checklist with a step-by-step routine that you need to follow every time you start a coding project. Execute that routine several times so that you learn the skill of following that procedure. And in this way, even if you stop practicing for a while, you will remember still when you need it. Use the overlearning strategy to transform the necessary learning into basic knowledge. The more advanced you get, the more difficult it will become to forget the basics. Not all knowledge is based on data, and not all knowledge can be transformed into a routine. This is why there is another strategy that you can use to increase your learning capacity: overlearning. The overlearning strategy is based on the logic that if you achieve the advanced level, it means that you are now able to master the basic level. For example, imagine that you play the guitar very well. It is quite possible that the basic knowledge, like constructing chords, is so well integrated in your brain that you will never forget about it. Overlearning wants to emulate this situation, making you study beyond what is necessary. In this way, you know advanced information and then you completely master the basic knowledge. This is why in the overlearning strategy, you should study way beyond what is necessary. The goal is to find advanced information and thus inevitably learn the more basic knowledge. Let's imagine you're studying for a maths exam in second grade. You're studying the required material for the second grade, and in addition to that, you go and you study beyond that. And by overlearning, you go ahead and you learn what is taught in the third grade. When you take the exam, the required knowledge for the second grade will be basic knowledge for you. Therefore, you won't have any problem in the exam and you get a high mark. Mnemonic devices help retain information, but they should not be your main learning strategy. For us to complete our strategy to fight the forgetting curve, we need to talk about mnemonics. The mnemonic device is a group of techniques that help you to memorize something. And to do that, we create diagrams and charts and symbols and words or sentences that are related to the subject that we're learning. The weirder the relation is, the more difficult it will be to forget. One example of a well-known mnemonic device is the one that says that our goals should be SMART. The 5 letters of this word are the initials of the wanted characteristics for a good goal. They have to be specific and measurable and achievable and relevant and time-bound. Mnemonic devices like this one are very useful to memorize information that we will use in exams in school, in college, or other academic exams, but they shouldn't be your main learning strategy. Remembering things without understanding them is never a good way to learn. Besides, mnemonics are not that useful in practical projects in your day-to-day. They can help you a little bit to get a good grade in an exam, but they won't be actually useful for you in your professional career. The better your retention is, the less time you will need to study. You can use active strategies and be an above-average student. We have learned about some active strategies to increase your retention capacity. Now, imagine how your student life or even your professional career would be if you were able to remember everything that you study, from all the books you read or all the classes you attend. How would your grades be? How would be the relationship with your colleagues and teachers be? How would your work performance be? Now, even though normal people could never learn everything, absolutely everything they study, you can greatly increase your ability to retain information if you use actively the strategies that we discussed here. You can use the spaced repetition system for factual knowledge. You can transform the information that can be sorted out in a sequence of actions into procedures. You can overlearn, so you can go beyond the necessary and learn also the basic knowledge. If, after all of this, you still need to remember some information, you can use the power of the mnemonic devices. And by doing this with diligence, you will be able to increase your ability to retain information in a very short time, and you will spend less time studying. Your ability to learn can be developed and improved. Your intelligence is not something fixed that was genetically established when you were born and that will stay like that for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter if you were never a good student. The low grades that you used to get in the past don't really matter. It doesn't matter how much information you can retain right now, in the present. If you dedicate yourself to improving your way of study, you will soon learn whatever you want to stand out both in your student life and in your professional life. If you want to expand your intelligence in an efficient, based in science way, now I invite you to watch a special class from the How to Learn Faster course by visiting arata.se/how to learn.